What is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the peripherals used by the top controller Fortnite players in the world. And to be a bit more specific here, we're going to be looking at the controller model they use, whether or not they use control freaks, whether they play claw or instead use paddles, what headset they use, and even the brand of monitor they use. Questions about controller gaming equipment are some of the most common ones I see people ask me and a bunch of other players as well, so clearly this is a pretty major topic of interest. And I believe that when it comes to stuff like this, it's a better idea to take a look at what a bunch of players use to try to find some kind of consensus, instead of just trusting what one specific person uses. And I think this is a really good video to make now, because over the next few months with the release of next-gen consoles, a lot of people are going to be making changes to their setup. So hopefully this video can guide you guys in the right direction if you're one of those people. We're going to be taking a look at about 10 to 30 controller pros in general. I'll quickly flash some of the names on the screen just so you get a brief idea of who's included, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so the first thing I want to take a look at in this video is the specific controller used by these top players. As I'm sure you guys all know, if you've ever looked into it, there are a lot of options when it comes to higher end PS4 and Xbox controllers, and I'm sure pretty much as soon as the Series X and PS5 are released to the public, you're going to see Scuff make a controller for both platforms. There'll probably be some kind of Xbox Elite, maybe PS5 will have their own exclusive controller. So this should not only give you an idea of the best controllers for current gen, but it'd also be a nice little preview of which controllers are likely to be the best for next gen as well. So in total, 28 players were included in this, but I want to break it up instead into Xbox and PS4, and I'll explain why in a second. So there are 19 PlayStation controller users and 9 Xbox controller users. So we're going to start with the PS4 players, and you're going to see a bit more variety here since there isn't a higher end controller made directly by Sony like there is on Xbox with the Elite. So out of the 19 players, 9 of them use the default DualShock controller, but just keep in mind that's because a lot of them play claw. 6 of them use the Scuff Impact, 2 of them use the Astro C40 controller, and then 1 player each uses the Scuff Vantage 2 and the Scuff Prestige. So other than the slight outlier of the Astro C40, here's my main takeaway from this. Pretty much, if you're a PS4 player and you play claw, just stick with the regular DualShock controller. But if you want to get a premium controller with paddles, which is obviously very helpful for Fortnite, it seems like your best bet is going to be the Scuff, and it also seems like the most popular model among the top pros is the Scuff Impact. When it comes to the 9 Xbox players though, it's pretty crazy how little variation there is. Out of the 9 players, 7 of them use the Xbox Elite controller, and just to be a bit more specific, 4 use the Elite Series 1 and 3 use the Elite Series 2. Then 1 player uses the regular Xbox controller, obviously a claw player, and finally 1 player uses the Scuff Prestige, which don't quote me on this, but I believe is the most popular model for Xbox specifically. So when it comes to the premium controllers on Xbox, it seems like the pros are pretty clear with their choice. They're going to take the Xbox Elite over a Scuff pretty much every single time. Our next piece of controller equipment that I wanted to take a look at is control freaks, and sadly this info was a bit harder to find, so the sample size isn't huge at only 14 players, but you'll see from the results that there is a pretty conclusive consensus among the top controller pros. So out of the 14 I looked at, 12 of them use no control freaks, 1 player used the CQC control freaks, and then 1 player used something called Scuff Sticks, which I believe is like Scuff's built-in version of control freaks. So I think your takeaway from this should be pretty obvious. It seems like the top players feel like control freaks either don't help, or even worse, that they may even hurt you in Fortnite because they make it a bit harder to do super quick flicky movements while building or editing. I did expect the majority of these players to not use them, but I definitely didn't expect it to be that unanimous. The next thing I want to take a look at in this video is how many players play claw versus non-claw, and then for the non-claw players, how many paddles they use, if any. So we're taking a look at the same sample of 28 players as we looked at with the controllers, and here are the results. So first off, we'll start with the claw players, and out of the 28, there were 13, which is actually pretty high compared to what I was expecting. And to break it down a bit further, 8 of those 13 players just play right-hand claw, while 5 of them play double claw. I don't play claw, so I don't know if that's surprising or anything, but there you go. Then for the non-claw players, 2 of the 15 play non-claw with no paddles, and then here's the breakdown of the 13 non-claw players who do use paddles. 3 of them use 1 paddle, 5 of them use 2 paddles, and then 5 of them use 4 paddles. So at least for me, this is pretty much in line with what I was expecting. I still haven't found a single player that uses 3 paddles yet, which I find kind of funny. But then other than that, 1, 2, and 4 paddles all seem to be somewhat close to equal in terms of usage among the best players. Now we're going to go over the headsets used by the top controller players, and since most of these guys obviously play controller on PC, I can't say with 100% certainty that all of these headsets are compatible with console, but I believe that most of the main ones are. And that makes sense because most of these pros did come from console, so they probably want to use the same brand or specific model of headset that they always have. So I found the headsets used by 17 top controller players total, and here are the results, and I think you'll be pretty surprised by the amount of diversity here. So the most popular headset with 6 users was the Astro A40, then 3 players used the HyperX Cloud headset, 2 players each used the SteelSeries Arctis Pro, Beyerdynamic DT Pro 1990, and the Logitech G Pro X, then 1 player each used the Turtle Beach Elite Pro and the Victrix Pro AF. So like I said, I'm not a guy that's huge into headsets, but my takeaway from these results is basically this. It seems like the most popular headset among the controller pros are the Astro A40s, but then after that, it's pretty much a total wash. There's about 6 to 7 other headsets that all seem to be viable, so I don't really think you can go wrong here as long as you stick with any of them. And in general, I've always thought that top tier headsets are kinda overrated for Fortnite specifically. The next thing I want to cover is the monitor brand used by top level controller players. Originally, I was going to share the specific monitor models they used, but I decided against that for one main reason. Since they all play on PC and can get 200 plus FPS, they're all going to be using 240Hz monitors, but if you play on console, which I know most of you guys do, even on next gen, you're only going to need a 144Hz monitor, so it would be a pretty major waste of money to just copy the pros and get the exact monitor they have. So again, a sample size of 18 players, and here are the results. 9 of the players use an Alienware monitor, 6 of the players use an Asus monitor, and then the final 3 use a BenQ monitor. So definitely some good information to know if you're a console player looking for a new monitor, which you're going to need to do if you want the full benefits of the increased FPS on next-gen Fortnite. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down in the comment section below. Name me one specific piece of gaming equipment that you use. It can be your controller, headset, monitor, control freaks, anything you want. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.